And if I had to be another person to stand up, if I think, after really going through this, and looking at the files and looking at the case, if I really feel that Karen Reed didn't do this and I have to be a voice that stands up and helps, I will.
We are expecting to learn more about the allegations against the girlfriend of a Boston police officer who was found unresponsive in the snow Saturday morning. I-Team sources say Karen Reed was in a relationship with John O'Keefe. She's facing charges including motor vehicle homicide and manslaughter.
We're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Now, just be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
And no, she didn't do it. No, she didn't do it. This is an innocent woman. She didn't do it.
I tried to save his life.
Yeah.
I tried to save his life at 6 in the morning. I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life.
Why'd you admit to it?
She didn't admit to it. She didn't admit to anything close to that. Nothing close to that. And you should know that.
It was like 3 or 4 times. She admitted to it.
No, she didn't.
That's not true.
She asked a question. She asked a question, which is very different. She didn't admit to anything.
I'm going to tell you one thing. Karen Reed's not going to fold. Karen Reed's not going to give up. Defense team's not going to quit. The Free Karen Reed movement is going to continue. We will continue to raise funds for her. We will continue to do standouts across Massachusetts, across the nation, across the world to let everybody know what's going on here in the state of Massachusetts, the corruption. And we will continue to get the word out there. Believe me. Believe me. All right, everybody. What's going on? Welcome into this edition of Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. This is Thursday Night Thunder, and we're going to have some fun here tonight and go through the recent ARCA testimony. I know we're kind of going back a little bit, but I love to go through this stuff. I love to just watch Hank Brennan absolutely lose his shit. And then we find out that after this ridiculous voir dire, that ARCA actually gets allowed to come in and testify. I'll tell you, I'm just laughing a little bit because there's just some things in this whole movement and I guess things that happen in this area that just don't surprise me, but do surprise me. I don't know. It's a long story. It's a long joke. I can't. I'm a little crazy, a little wacky tonight, but we're going to have some fun during this live. It's nice to see a lot of people in here. We got moderators. We have channel members. We're going to have some fun tonight. But let me bring this article up really quick. And I'm going to bring my surprise guest here in a minute. And we're going to really have some fun tonight. But I can't. The jokes always continue in this movement. I tell you, the jokes always continue in this movement. Anyway, let's get to, oh boy. Oh, what a mistake. Anyway, let's get to this. Why Karen Reed won the ARCA ruling despite repeated and deliberate violations, according to Boston 10. I want to read down here a little bit. So one of Karen Reed's lawyers in the middle of answering a question for Judge Beverly Canone on Tuesday, when she cut him off and said, you know what, you're going to win this. Why don't you just let me make my ruling, Canone said. The jury had been cleared from the room so the judge could hear the arguments. We know about that. This is the thing that I think is very funny about this article. On Tuesday, Brennan laid out a subterfuge that he saw from the defense and how they communicated with ARCA. Canone turned to the other side and asked the defense lawyer, Robert Alessi, to explain one thing. How could he reconcile one of the experts deleting 100 text messages with standard rules of conduct? I mean, here's the funny thing about it. We hear this in this testimony that, like, he's not my friend. The trial is over. It's not like I keep a text exchange or chain with my clients. When a trial concludes, it's over. But if you want to go there and talk about deleted text messages, and I'll let the chat put it in there. Who deleted text messages? Who deleted cell phone data? Who smashed their phone and dumped it on an Air Force base down the Cape? on a military base down the Cape. Who did that? And she wants to talk about deleting text messages. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. You're actually going to say this when multiple people that were at 34 Fairview that night destroyed evidence, text messages, communications, their phones, and you're going to question this. Communications between independent investigator, a government entity, independent, hired independently by the government, and they didn't want to engage with the Commonwealth. Remember that. They didn't want to engage with the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth didn't want anything to do with ARCA because they knew that this information was favorable to the defense because it proved Karen Read did not hit John O'Keefe, and John O'Keefe never had any contact with Karen Read's vehicle. And they knew if they engaged ARCA and brought this in, they would have to go through hula hoops to explain all this away and make it go away. All right, I'm not going to wait too much longer here. Let me bring on my surprise guest, and then we will get through the ARCA testimony, the one, the only, graced with his presence, MazzaMedia. What's going on, buddy?
Go on, brother. How you doing? Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Mama said Mama She 13, $5 says Huggy Higgins. Absolutely. Mazza, what do you think about this? Just kind of skimming through this article. I was going to read the whole thing, but to have Canoni question the defense about deleted text messages when literally evidence in this trial has been deleted constantly or manipulated constantly, and to push the defense about this, unbelievable. What do you think?
Rules for me, but not for thee. It's one of those situations where you have a lot of deletion, you have a lot of controversy on the prosecution side, their witnesses especially, and then you take a look back at what's going on with the ARCA guys, and it's like if Wolf deleted his text messages, he's free to do that. You don't actually have to delete them one by one. Believe it or not, if you actually open up your text messages, you can just swipe right and delete them all in one fell swoop. It's not that hard to do, actually. But yeah, it was a lot of controversy about that. It was just totally, it's unfortunately par for the course where everything's going to be overanalyzed about Karen Read and her witnesses. But then if anything's brought up about the witnesses deleting anything on the other side, I mean, even if a Google search occurred, for example, well, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, according to the other side. But just it's crazy, like you said, the lack of self-realization for one side to question one side for deleting text messages. And he was open and honest about it. He explained clearly why he did that.
Oh, we're going to see it.
Right. And then you have the other side that, it's very, very out of sorts. That's for sure, to say the least.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wanda. Thank you, Wanda.
It's,
yeah.
I was just like, when I was skimming through your article, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. She's really going to say this. She's really going to say this when literally this is, the glue to the Karen Read case of how many people, how many witnesses at 34 Fairview deleted text messages. And we had Jennifer McCabe the other day. And from what I'm hearing, tomorrow, Alan Jackson is going to have her up there for at least another 2 to 3 hours. So
wow.
Get your popcorn ready, your bagels ready. And it's going to be interesting. And then you're going to think it's going to come back in direct again. And then I'm sure Alan Jackson's going to have some more questions. So,
correct.
It's going to be very, very interesting.
Very interesting.
What did you think about Jennifer McCabe's because we haven't talked since then. What did you think about Jennifer McCabe's testimony so far?
Well, it's definitely more interesting this time around than the first time. I think the intrigue in the trial last year was that it was the first time around. It was the first line of questioning. But now you have comparative questioning now, which is basically asking someone that's a witness questions and then also comparing that to what their testimony was last year. And it's very, very intriguing. The most striking part of this whole trial so far has been when attorney Alan Jackson mentioned the fact that authorities had appeared at her home and she had asked for 10 minutes and then they were allowed in the house and they had asked, had you talked to anyone in this 10-minute period? And then he kind of sprinkled in that, well, it looks like he called 2 people. Then he kind of expanded it to 5, which was extremely notable. But that was really a gripping moment. And to say that right before the jury like that, to really try to, if you're really trying to get someone to look uncredible, not incredible, uncredible or lacking credibility, that's the way to do it because you get to that right off the bat. really right off the bat he did. And that was a very big play by Alan Jackson, opening up this case and really establishing the family tree and connection tree right off the bat with her, because you're trying to kind of, it's like when you're teaching a kid in kindergarten, their ABCs, you know, you got the chart, you got to kind of introduce the kids to it, get them acquainted to A, B, C in that order and beyond. And the same thing with a jury. They need to know these connections. They need to know that they exist. They need to know what kind of affiliations these people have in their network of friends, family, whatever. And I thought Alan Jackson really succeeded in doing that, Brian.
The one thing that I love that he's been doing is that he's not referring back to testimony in trial 1. He's going right to the grand jury testimony, because that was the freshest testimony, just months. I think just a week before Aiden dropped his first story. It was in April. It was like the first week of April. And I think Aiden came out with his story like the second week of April. It was like the 18th. And I think I'm trying to remember the date. I think it was like the 11th when they actually sat with the grand jury, and I could be wrong with that. But I love the fact that AJ is going right back to that. And he grabs that report. He puts it right down in front of Jennifer McCabe. It's 227 pages, which is fucking wild. So you have the 227 Google search. She gets sworn in this trial at 2:27 p.m. And then she has the grand jury testimony right in front of her. And she literally says it's 227 pages. That is nuts. And he asks her, where in that report, where in your testimony did you say that my client said I hit him 3 times? And she said, well, you want me to read through it? And he goes, if you want to, I will wait.
Right.
And then Beb's kind of like, what's going on here? And he goes, I'm going to let you know right now, it's not there.
Yeah.
It's not there.
When you're trying to create reasonable doubt to get your client acquitted, those are the moments that really add up to the whole. And realistically, I thought that they had this case won pretty much from the first day or two. Once they did their first cross-examination or two, whether it was with Nuttall or Kerry Roberts, they essentially really did a great job early. And even here, this whole I hit him. It's just, it's manufactured, and it seems to be something that was collectively manufactured throughout this course of this whole process. And again, Alan Jackson's doing a great job of, you know, he used a little bit of courtroom theatrics, but I thought sometimes that's necessary, because he's making, he was willing to, it's like sometimes in hockey, sometimes you need to be thrown in the penalty box for 5 minutes just to set the tone in the game. And that's pretty much what Alan Jackson did, was he was willing to kind of get a little bit of a light warning from the judge for that. But, you know, but that's, I wouldn't even say a warning, but just kind of a comment from her at least. But that was huge, because it brought a greater point. Where in this did you say this? And that was incredibly done, masterfully done at that. Great job by Alan Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah. Johnny O, $10 says, was Jen really surprised the FBI showed up? It's bullshit. It's a bullshit story. She's telling a bullshit story in front of the jury. Oh, I thought it was someone trying to sell something, so I said I was the goal. And then what did they say right after her? AJ said, you realize that when they met with you, they told you immediately, if you lie, you know, it's not going to be a good thing if you immediately lie. So they knew. You know, they listen, the feds know everything. Feds know everything. It's hard to believe that she's clueless about the mess that she's in. Excuse me. Props to Mazza. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that. We have Annie from Selfie, $5. Says, Brian and Mazza, it's nice to hear all the liars and getting caught too. I agree there. All right. Let's go through some ARCA testimony. I love watching Hank Brennan lose his shit here. I love it. I love this. Yep. And it's crazy, you know, like I've been seeing him on TV and having that first opportunity in court the other day to actually see him work and his very soft-handed objection. I mean, there's just no power. There's no power in the man's voice when he objects. Objection. All right, here we go. All right, ladies, meltdown in 3, 2, 1. I think I posted something the other. I posted something the other day. All the ladies are gonna melt down in 3, 2, 1 with Dr. Wolf on the stand.
That's funny. I like that wolf image that was posted online.
What was it?
There was a werewolf photo of Dr. Wolf that was posted on Twitter. Oh, it was a riot. It looked just like him in wolf form. It was incredible. It was the most amazing thing.
I want to get your take on this. Do you think the 911 call was sped up?
I don't recall the speed of it enough to really recall. I don't recall.
Yeah,
but no, I don't have a strong answer for that to make a statement.
I'm going to say it seemed a little fast, but maybe that could just be all the action that you're taking in at that point. You're trying to process a lot of stuff. And I'll tell you one fucking thing. When witnesses and attorneys talk in that courtroom, I don't know what happened in that room, of how they designed it or what they did to the walls. It just soaks sound. Like you can't hear anybody talking there.
Yeah.
When they turned that damn speaker on in that courtroom, holy smokes, I thought it was a Metallica concert.
Yeah, it's like when the THX intro used to play.
It is loud. Yeah, it is very loud.
Everybody gets that reference. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But the true self you got.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, go right ahead, Mr.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
Did you become aware there was an order from this court to produce records?
Yes.
Did you receive a copy of that order?
Yes.
Who did you receive a copy of that
So
order?
we need Dr. Wolf to identify himself.
Please identify yourself for the record. Spell your last name.
Daniel Wolf, last name spelled W-O-L-F-E.
Who did you receive that order from?
I believe it was in an email forwarded from Miss Little.
Did you read it?
Yes.
Did you understand that there was a request for certain communications?
Yes.
Did you understand that you were supposed to turn those records over to the Superior Court?
Yes.
Did you turn records over to the Superior Court?
I provided a copy of that production notice to Miss Little.
Did you provide the records to the Superior Court?
I didn't directly email that to the court, no.
Did you indirectly email it to the court?
It was my understanding that it would be passed along to the court.
So you did not, pursuant to the order, provide the records to the Superior Court, did you?
Not directly to the court, no.
When you read the order, you understood what the order was requiring you to provide, correct?
Correct.
It was requiring you to provide all text messages.
Yes.
Did you provide all text messages?
I don't have any in my possession.
Did you look for any text messages that are not in your possession about this case?
Yes.
Okay. Did you find any?
No, sir.
What did you do to look?
So I went through the phone that I presently have, and as I informed Ms. Little, last year I was under T-Mobile as my carrier. Subsequent to that, I then switched to Verizon in, I believe it was November. So I made an effort to contact T-Mobile as well as get access to my T-Mobile account hub. Unfortunately, I was unable to get access to it or get any records prior to, or at least from my T-Mobile carrier. And then I went through my Verizon records that I have from 2025. I could only go back 3 months, and I provided those records.
How about emails? You didn't change email carriers, did you?
No, sir.
Did you provide all your emails from when you first were contacted by the defense?
Yes, sir.
And you provided every one of those emails to who?
It would have been in the file that I put together for the production.
How many emails did you find between?
So I'm just going to pause this really quick. And this is why I find this whole situation, the way that the defense outlined this. Robert Alessi had that beautiful presentation about, this communication between the defense and ARCA. This is why I feel he's so credible. He even said he changed carriers, but went back to T-Mobile to try to extract that data and be able to give it over if someone was asking for it. To me, right. You wouldn't do that if you're trying to hide something, in my opinion.
Correct. I mean, he's beyond open and honest here, and he has nothing to hide, quite honestly. I mean, he knows what this is. This is basically a witch hunt from the prosecution trying to get anything they can. They're grasping at straws. And again, Dr. Wolf has really nothing to hide here.
Yeah, I mean, he has no skin in the game. He just did his job. He was independently contacted by the government. They said, look at this information, reconstruct what you can do, and what are your results?
In you and the defense.
Exactly, 100%.
I'd have to look at the order, but it was probably 6 to. Are you talking about present day or just from last year?
Anytime.
It was probably around a dozen or so.
Who did you correspond with by email on the defense?
Again, can you specify a time frame?
At any time. Who did you correspond with by email on the defense?
It would have been Mr. Jackson. Miss Little might have been on one of those emails. There might have been a couple other members. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well, how about Ms. Reed?
I don't believe she was on any of those emails.
You've never emailed or been on a correspondence with her by email?
No, sir.
And how about Mr. Yannetti?
He may have been on one of the emails. I don't know as I sit here today.
You communicated by phone with the defense, didn't you?
Yes.
And that began as far back as March 2024?
After our report was issued, yes, in March.
back in March of 2024, you spoke on the phone to Mr. Jackson
Yes, sir.
a number of times.
Yes, sir.
And as you spoke, you began to become familiar with him and his role in this case, didn't you?
We corresponded about, again, our expected testimony here at trial. Yes.
I'll ask it again. Did you become familiar with him and his role in this case when you spoke to him?
I understood him to be the defense attorney on the case. Yes.
Did you speak to Ms. Little by phone?
I don't believe so. No.
Did you speak to anybody?
Hold on 1 second, please. Thank you.
Here we go too. I spoke to them after my report, so they're already settled. Their experimentation, everything that they have done that's been asked by the federal government to investigate this. Here's the information. Do what you need to do. Come to a conclusion. Reporter's already there. Like he's thinking. Hank's trying to say that the defense came over in this and manipulated this situation.
Yeah.
And that's far from what happened. Everything had been completed at this point.
Yeah. I think he was trying to kind of Rubik's Cube this whole thing and kind of rearrange it in a way that made it seem like there was something suspicious going on here, but there was really nothing to be found out at all. Yeah.
Did you speak, pardon me.
Hey,
Did
man,
you speak
how
to
are you?
anybody other than Mr. Jackson about this case before the first trial?
I don't believe so. No.
Did you speak to anybody since then on
Yes.
the defense team? Who?
I believe Ms. Little and Mr. Alessi.
Okay, and how about Ms. Reed?
No, sir.
Did you ever have any conversations that weren't on a regular telephone? You have a Zoom?
Yes, we have had, I believe it was a Zoom or a Teams meeting. We've had a couple.
When was that?
That would have been more recently to go over some of the testing that we've done.
Did you ever have any Zoom meetings before the first trial?
No, sir.
Did you ever have any group conferences before the first trial?
I don't believe so. No.
Were you ever on the phone before the first trial in a conversation where you and Dr. Rentschler both were on the call?
There may have been an instance of that. I just don't recall.
Oh, think back.
I don't recall.
At some point,
I don't recall.
I love it. He goes, think back. I don't recall. He didn't even give it any thought. He just went, I don't recall.
Mr. Wood, Dr. Wolf, please make up something.
Jackson, and
I don't
you
recall.
decided or you learned that you may be part of this case as far as a witness?
Yes, sir.
When you learned you were part of this case,
Man, I don't know what you're doing right now, but you are welcome to jump up if you would like to. Feel free to. If not, no big deal. We'll have our show on Monday night.
did you have contact with Mr. Jackson before you testified at the voir dire?
Did I have communications with him?
Yes.
Yes.
And in those communications, you spoke about your role?
I think we spoke about logistics and coordinating my arrival here for the voir dire and certainly the trial.
Well, when you spoke on March 20th, 2024, didn't you talk about more than coordination of logistics?
I'm sorry, what was the date?
March 20th, 2024?
So I believe that would have been the very first phone call that I had with Mr. Jackson.
Right. Was that more than about logistics?
Well, I think we were trying to figure out what should we do. I will note that this was a very abnormal situation for me, being involved in a federal investigation and then ultimately being called as a witness. Well, I'm trying to answer your question.
But you're not. Did you talk about more than logistics?
So are you finished with your answer, Dr. Wolf, or are you still answering?
I was still trying to answer.
Go ahead, finish.
Thank you.
Robert Alessi, shout out
So
to
as I
him for that.
mentioned,
Oh, yeah.
again, the situation
Yeah, he's like, fuck this. I'm going to jump in there.
It's objection, Your Honor.
was was abnormal. I didn't know if we could get involved. I didn't think Mr. Jackson knew we could get involved. In terms of a path forward, would we be able to do more work? Could we review additional material? How could we work together moving forward? There was a lot of unknowns, so there was a lot of uncertainty.
You done? Yes, sir. Did you talk about more than just logistics?
You've got to be kidding me.
I know. It took me by surprise as well when that remark was made. Are you done?
Are you done?
Like,
That's kind of like, what do they call that? Like badgering a witness?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's I wouldn't, whether it's called that or not by definition, I don't know, or I'm not one to say, but that was a little bit off-putting from a prosecutor. It doesn't really in the public eye make you look too credible. Not that that's what he's concerned about, but at the same time, are you going to really say to someone, "Are you done?" I mean,
Are you done?
Ugh.
Yeah.
Go ahead, finish.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, again, the situation was abnormal. I didn't know if we could get involved. I didn't think Mr. Jackson knew we could get involved. In terms of a path forward, would we be able to do more work? Could we review additional material? How could we work together moving forward? There was a lot of unknowns, so there was a lot of uncertainty.
You done?
Yes, sir.
Did you talk about more than just logistics?
No, sir.
Did you talk about fees or structures?
I described to him our typical procedure when we intake a criminal defense case, right? There's typically a contract and retainer associated with that. So I described our normal procedure that takes place. Yes.
So you talked about fees and scheduling and costs, what you charge.
I did talk about, yes, the contract and the retention letter.
When you talked about that contract, there was a discussion, wasn't there, about them hiring you, paying you, or retaining you?
Potentially. Again, I prescribed our standard procedure.
Why?
This is what I want everybody to understand here. So what Wolf is, and I'm sure everybody's following it here, but I want to just give my take on it. Wolf is saying, okay, let's just say I'm Dr. Wolf. MazzaMedia calls me. I'm having a conversation with him. Hey, I have this trial. I'm coming up. I'd like to hire you for your services. Sure. Sure, MazzaMedia. What we usually do is we go into a contract. Here's our fees. If there's any expenditures for me to get there, you're going to be responsible to do that. It's called a normal sales pitch. It's letting your client know what it's going to take to retain my services. It's contract negotiation. And then you would go through this. You would have a formal written contract. It would be sent over. It would be signed by both parties. And there you go. This is nothing out of the norm. And just like Mazza was saying just a couple of minutes ago, Hank is trying to Rubik's Cube this thing to make it seem like a lot more nefarious. I don't even want to say that it even was. It's not even nefarious, but he's trying to make it nefarious.
Yeah.
Mazza, any comment?
Yeah, like I don't like the way he's trying to make this out to be. Typically, you know, Dr. Wolf and Arca, they're going to have their procedures, billing procedures, whatever that is. It just seems like more is trying to be made out of it. This is, again, grasping at straws by the prosecution.
Yeah, I agree. Here we go.
Why was it you were talking about fees and schedules if you didn't think that you were potentially going to get hired?
Again, I prescribed our normal operating procedure. I had no idea how it was going to work moving forward, which is why ultimately, immediately after that phone call, I contacted the Department of Justice to get clarification on that.
We'll get to that, but I'm asking you specifically, why were you talking about fees and scheduling and being paid at that point?
Objection, Your Honor. We're going to allow it.
Again, because Mr. Jackson was interested, I believe, in calling us to testify at trial. So I explained to us the normal process. When a client reaches out and wants to engage us for trial testimony, that's typically, again, the procedure that we prescribe at ARCA. So that's why I had that explanation to him.
So you were talking to him about details about potentially being hired. Isn't that fair to say?
I don't know about being hired. I think, again, him utilizing us in the trial as expert witnesses.
Well, what's the difference between him utilizing you and paying you for that utilization and him actually hiring you? What's the difference in your mind?
Well, I think there is a difference because ultimately, after I got clarification from the Department of Justice, they indicated that they could not, the defense that is, sign any type of contract. There could not be any type of agreement or retainer.
I'm not asking what you determined later. I'm talking about the conversation you had on March 20th, 2022, when you were speaking to Attorney Jackson. That's what I'm talking about, okay? Understand?
I don't know that I understand your question, then.
Okay. When you had a conversation on March 20th, 2022 with Attorney Jackson, you discussed potentially being hired, paid, compensated by Attorney Jackson or the defense for this case, didn't you?
We did, like I said, I did explain to him our typical operating procedure when a client reaches out for trial testimony. I went over that with him, yes.
I'm not talking about a client. I'm talking about this client. Did you talk about them potentially hiring or retaining you for work in this case? That's the question I'm asking you on March 20th, 2022, not the 22nd, not the 24th. March 20th, 2024. Did you speak to Attorney Jackson about them potentially retaining or hiring you for this case?
I spoke to him like I speak to any other client that would be interested in calling us as a witness.
Okay. And so after you spoke to them, you spoke to...
He went, okay. Do you hear him?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, I did. Oh, my goodness.
It's like a swarmy. Okay.
Yeah.
To representatives of the United States Attorney's Office, and you wrote an email back saying that you were going to put the conversation on hold. Is that fair to say?
Correct, until I got clarification from them.
At some point, it was on hold, right? At some point, it resumed.
Yes.
When was that?
That would have been towards, I believe, the end of April.
The end of April. How was this relationship resumed? What was the contact, the conversation between you and anybody on the defense that resumed that relationship?
I think that I reached out to Mr. Jackson. Like I said, I think it looks like about a month had passed, and I had let him know that I had spoken to the DOJ and got clarification on moving forward.
Okay. So in April of 2024, you reached out to the defense and said that you had permission or a green light to move forward in the relationship with the defense in this case.
I had clarification from the Department of Justice, yes.
And that clarification allowed you then to work with the defense on this case.
Not work with. We could be called on the defense's behalf to testify. And for that matter, the Commonwealth could have also contacted us and utilized us at trial as well, if they should, please.
So when did you become an advocate for the defense?
Oh, God.
Do you feel like you're an advocate for the defense?
We need to get a pause on that one, Brian.
Yeah.
That was fire, because here's the thing, that's a shot at the Commonwealth, because the Commonwealth would not use ARCA as their experts, because ARCA would not tell them what the Commonwealth wants to hear.
Right.
Which is why they've got specific experts, quote unquote, that they particularly choose to have a more favorable testimony to provide in court. And that was kind of a nice shot by him to say, hey, you guys could have used this just the same, but we all know, I mean, he made a big statement without saying it. We all know why he didn't want to hire ARCA to represent the Commonwealth.
And that's what I said, is that if the Commonwealth brought this up, they would have to go through a million hula hoops to explain this all the way. It was not a favorable report because it's the truth. And they don't want the truth. They want to continue to spin this every single way that they can. And they knew that this was not going to be favorable for them. But I love that shot, because I think Wolf at this point is fucking done doing the circle with Hank, and he's just going to get him right now and said, look, you could have contacted us too.
You sure about that?
Sir, I'm on the science and in the analysis that I've done. That's the side that I'm on.
You sure are? Because after that 424 call, letting them know that the United States Attorney's Office gave permission for you to be called as a witness.
So we pause this one more time.
You called them again that day, didn't you?
One more time.
Absolutely.
This prosecutor is making personal comments, no different than personal comments and reactions that Alan Jackson or David Yannetti have made, and the judge calls them out on it. But when this prosecutor does it,
well, it's probably because it's not in front of the jury, Maz.
Yeah, good point. That's a good point.
That's going to be the explanation.
Well. That's a good point as well. That would be the justification.
Yeah. But it's bullshit, though. I completely understand. I think Aiden was pointing some things out like that the other day on X, talking about that as well, and other little like picadillos that go on, and she doesn't. I literally just said picadillos.
It's the first time for everything.
But there's certain things that she just doesn't take into account. Like, she just badgers the defense on, but lets the Commonwealth run all over. It's unbelievable.
But they called you on the main line.
We may have exchanged a couple calls that day, yes.
Well, you did exchange a couple calls that day because we have at least some records. And when you called later that day, after telling them that you had permission, they could use you as witnesses, what did you talk about?
Do you have the records I could take a look at just so I could see what you're referring to?
Do you remember having calls after you called Attorney Jackson and said you had the green light from the U.S. Attorney's Office? Do you remember having further calls that day?
I think we had a couple brief conversations, yes.
Okay. When you think about it, do you remember them, or are you just saying you think but you don't know?
I don't remember. I remember that there was one conversation, I believe in early May, that I had with Mr. Jackson, in which we engaged in a conversation where I gave him more information about my background, who ARCA was as a whole. I think we even got stuck a little bit about my family, my 4 kids and things of that nature, but it was a call about background and qualifications.
We're still back in April. You're moving ahead to May when you first started billing. I want to talk about back in April. Do you remember having conversations on April 24th with Mr. Jackson? Do you remember that?
I'm going to allow that.
I remember that there were conversations, yes. Specifically what they were too. I remember, I think they were brief, but I don't remember the specifics of them, no.
Well, in the brief conversation, what do you briefly remember about that brief conversation, Doctor?
Well, as I mentioned, I think I had finally received clarification from the DOJ, so I think I was letting him know that I had received that clarification.
Well, sir, you said that was the first call. There were more than one call. There was then 2 calls to the main line. What did you discuss with him during those calls?
Well, to be honest with you,
I love this part here. This is so good.
The call to the ARCA main line, I don't even know if I spoke with him. That's just to the main line, not to me directly. So he could have spoken to a receptionist who then tried to get a hold of me, right? So I don't know if that specific call to the main line was to me or someone else at ARCA.
Well, this is a new relationship, right? You're working on a contract with the federal government. You have only spoken to Mr. Jackson, according to you, twice. You don't remember the early conversations with them and what they were about?
I'm sorry, are we talking about now at the end of April still?
Yeah, I'm still talking at April. April 24, 2024.
Yeah, as I just discussed with you, from what I recall, it was relaying to him the clarification that I got from the Department of Justice.
Right, but that doesn't take more than one call, does it?
I don't know. He may have been in court. There might have been some phone tag. I don't know, sir.
Well, there was a 9-minute call on April 24th.
Oh, God.
And then there's 2 calls to the ARCA main line, 3 minutes and 2 minutes. Do you remember any of those calls?
Again, when you say 3 minutes and 2 minutes, that makes it sound like, in all likelihood, he contacted the ARCA main line, got a hold of a receptionist or my project manager, and couldn't get a hold of me.
Are you just making that up, or that's what happened?
Oh, God.
Sir, That is my best guess. I don't recall from a year ago.
We're not asking you to guess. I'm asking for you to.
I'm telling you. I mean, who fucking knows? Maybe someone that was walking by, going to get coffee for someone, picked up the phone, was like, ARCA. You know what I mean? Like a 2-minute call. A 2-minute call to a reception is they're getting someone in reception, and they're like, they're not in their office, or I'll leave a note or whatever. Maybe the 9-minute call is when he probably had some conversation.
Right, exactly. And again, Dr. Wolf is being straightforward here with his answers. Like, look, I don't know this. I do know this. Possibly, maybe, I don't know. He's not really beating around the bush. He's not really making any odd body movements. He's just kind of straight up looking at the prosecutor and answering the questions as they're asked to the best of his ability. And he's being nothing but earnest. But you got a prosecutor here. It's digging for anything he can possibly get. And that's what's happening here, as we know.
Yeah.
We'll
I mean,
see.
I talked about this the other day. Jury's not in the room. This is his opportunity, because he knows that this is the glue that's really going to hold this case together. I mean, this is the information that kills the Commonwealth's theory. Okay. And he has filed motion after motion after motion to try to get these guys expelled out of this case. So he knows right now, this is his opportunity outside the presence of the jury, but in front of the world, to treat this guy like a dick because he didn't get his way. That's it. I mean, come on. That's the facts, Mazza.
And it's desperate. Well, it's desperation. It's like the strenuously objecting scene in A Few Good Men. Oh, I strenuously object. Well, you make it look like they were afraid of the doctor, A Few Good Men. It's the same thing here. It makes the prosecution look like they're afraid that they're so earnestly trying to discredit ARCA over whatever they can get them on. It's almost an admission of Karen Reed's innocence and really not being guilty. Because, I mean, honestly, if I were convinced that, if I was a defense attorney, right, I wouldn't necessarily fight to keep people off the stand, because guess what? It doesn't matter who you throw at us. We're ready to go. It's the same thing here with the prosecution. Why are you afraid of anybody that the defense is going to bring on? Why are you so threatened? Why are you trying to find anything you can to get them disqualified from being a expert witness in this trial? They're threatened by them. They've been threatened by ARCA for a long, long time. And I really think despite ARCA, thank you, Ned, despite ARCA not, even though the jury may have not even known who ARCA really was during the first trial, whatever they said to some degree was sufficient enough to convince that jury on counts 1 and counts 3 that Karen Reed was not guilty. And I think that these are obviously, like any of us would say, these are your bread and butter witnesses for the defense right here, and they know that. The prosecution
This is a good point too. Clerks to Q by half says ARCA involvement is also good evidence down the road that the judge in the Commonwealth ignored exculpatory evidence provided in good faith through a TUI. That's a really good point.
Testimony.
That's what I recall, sir.
Do you recall him calling a secretary on the main line? That's what you recall?
He very well could have. I just don't know, sir.
But you're making a representation that you recall him using a secretary in the main line. I'm asking what you actually did and actually said. Do you remember speaking to Mr. Jackson or anybody on the defense team after that initial call back on April 24th, 2024? Do you remember those 2 phone calls?
Objection, Your Honor. So let's get an answer.
I don't remember those phone calls specifically, no, sir.
Next
Do you
question.
remember the phone call on April 30th, 2024? Do you remember that one?
I don't remember that call, sir.
Okay. Do you remember the call on May 1st, 2024?
Okay.
I don't have the records in front of me, but was that a longer call by any chance?
It was 40 minutes long.
Okay.
Yep.
So then, yes, as I just described earlier, that would have been the call in which I went over with Mr. Jackson a little bit more about ARCA, my background, my education, qualification, the kind of casework that I do, things of that nature.
And did you discuss issues regarding this case?
No, sir.
So during the 40 minutes you spoke, you never discussed any of your findings that had already been made?
No, sir.
You had never discussed any of your testing in this case during that 40-minute conversation?
No, sir. And it was all laid out in the report that was issued in
I
February.
understand the report. I'm asking you, did you have any conversations about it with the defense?
No, sir.
So in that 40-minute conversation, you talked about your family, your pastimes, ARCA, but never ever talked about this case.
Objection, Your Honor. I'm going to allow it.
Correct.
You billed for that time, didn't you?
I believe that I kept track of that time, yes.
Okay. When you kept track of the time, did you submit that time and ultimately get money for that time?
Again, I routinely keep track of my time when I'm working on a project. So yes, that time was kept track.
That's not what I'm asking you. Ultimately, that time that you kept track of, did you then submit it and get paid and compensated for that time? That's what I'm asking you.
Well, first off, I'm a salaried employee, so I don't get direct compensation when an invoice goes out. That invoice, when it's sent, ultimately comes back to ARCA. That doesn't come back to Dan Wolf.
Okay. So in order to get paid for that, you would have had to submit that time through ARCA to then forward it, wouldn't you?
Objection, Your Honor.
Going to allow it. Is that true?
Yes. I keep track of my time so that my boss knows what I'm doing. Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, can you approach, please?
Who asked me that?
You, Your Honor.
Yes. Come on over.
He just buried Hank in like 2 seconds.
That
You
was
think
really,
that? I'm a salaried employee.
yeah.
So you keep track of it. Yeah. So my boss
Right.
knows where I am.
Right. And that for me, I think was one of the biggest, that was one of the biggest moments of this entire voir dire, is that basically, look, no, I'm not accepting cash firsthand. They're not, Alan Jackson is not walking up to me with a briefcase full of 20s and $50 bills, money in the bank briefcase. Exactly. They're just, we bill and then we submit it up to the boss and payroll, whatever. And I get my salary nonetheless. So no, I don't receive an extra dollar beyond what I'm a salaried employee. So that was a big moment. And for the prosecution, they tried to really go in tight, and I'm not sure they were really expecting that answer.
Yeah.
That Wolf gave them, but that pretty much to me ended all of this. And it's very unfortunate. This is taking away from trial time. It's first of all very unfortunate that a retrial is going on. But to that point, it's a little disappointing this voir dire had to take as long as it did to get this all resolved right in the middle of a trial, for goodness sakes.
It's just such a waste of time and money.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back here. Let's speed up a little bit.
May 1st, 2024, you had a conversation with Attorney Jackson.
Nick Rocco.
And at some point, did you submit the time you spent
boy.
and forwarded it so that could be billed?
Yes, and I will note that all of that time was actually tracked under the same project number that the work that was done for the Department of Justice was under.
Kelly Reed
So at the time
hey,
you had
Kelly.
that conversation, you were keeping track of hours, correct?
Something I routinely do, yes.
And do you know who ultimately paid that bill for that day, May 1st, 2024?
I know now that it was the defense, yes.
Okay. Now, when you billed, did you bill for the entire conversation?
Oh, God.
I don't know.
You said most of the conversation was background, talking about ARCA, talking about your families.
This is
Yes.
a reach now. This is a
Do you
reach.
typically bill clients when you're spending time talking about families?
Again, that wasn't the entirety of the conversation. I think he just briefly asked me about my family.
Oh, now it's brief. Okay.
No, Nick.
Objection, Your Honor.
No comments, please.
Do you typically charge when you're talking about non-related work matters in your billing?
Sir, I think the majority of that phone call was related to, again, work-related topics.
Work-related.
We weren't exchanging pasta recipes,
we're not explaining.
We're not exchanging lasagna. We weren't exchanging lasagna and baking cake recipes and all that stuff.
We're not creating chessboard secrets.
Me and Alan Jackson weren't planning on ordering from Domino's or going to Qdoba or Chipotle or something like that. No.
We're not explaining what is it, pineapple on pizza or not pineapple on pizza.
Me and him talked about our personal lives, and me and Alan Jackson, we went out and played 18 holes of golf. It's just, again, this is a reach at this point, because I think at this point the prosecutor attempted to get the questions he asked, and then I think that he didn't get the answers he wanted out of Dr. Wolf because he wasn't expecting them, and now it's kind of a reach. Well, how long did you bill? Did you guys talk about whether you prefer Fritos, Cheetos, or Doritos for 10 minutes? That's why Dr. Wolf has this smirk on his face, because he's in disbelief that he can't believe he's being asked these questions.
Yeah, Coke or Pepsi?
yeah.
All right. In my background, certainly.
Yeah, okay. And how much was the majority?
Sir, I don't know that I can parse it out in individual segments or minutes for you.
And so after that May 1st conversation, did you communicate with the defense before June 9, 2024?
I don't believe so. I think from what I recall, next up was, I think, the voir dire. Either Alan, I think Alan contacted me letting me know that the court wanted to do a voir dire of myself and Dr. Rentschler.
And you mean Alan, you mean Attorney Jackson?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you became friendly.
I guess first name basis, is that what you're referring
No,
to?
I'm saying, did you become friendly?
No, I wouldn't say that we were friends.
I didn't ask if you're friends. I said, did you become friendly?
I talked to him like I talked to all of the attorneys that I work with, sir.
What would you call me if you were going to address me?
Probably Mr. Brennan.
So, do you remember the next time you spoke to Alan?
As I mentioned, it probably would have been sometime in early or mid-June.
Going into June, you were keeping track of all your communications with Attorney Jackson or anybody from the defense, weren't you?
I don't know if you mean, what do you mean by keeping track?
Well, do you have a folder where you make notes when you have communications with an attorney and discuss issues?
No, sir.
You don't make notes?
Not for brief phone calls, no.
For your billing, do you save phone records or text messages so you have some collateral evidence about the billing?
No, not when it's things about, again, logistics and traveling and scheduling, no, sir.
And by the way, when you put together your phone records and text messages that you sent to the court in response to the court order, did you have actual records?
What do you mean in terms of actual records?
Well, I see like a summary chart that was developed. Who developed that summary chart?
So that was, again, as I mentioned earlier, I was unfortunately unable to pull anything from T-Mobile. I just could not get access. Then what I did is I logged into my personal Verizon phone records, and I was able to go back for 3 months. I couldn't get back to December, and then I downloaded the spreadsheets and I extracted those rows and provided that.
Did you provide the actual records or just the spreadsheet?
Well, I provided the spreadsheet, which was pulled from the records. I would have had to redact a lot of phone numbers if I was to put in the full extraction, if you will.
So you didn't provide the full extraction?
I provided the full extraction as it relates to all the contact between myself and Mr. Jackson and Miss Little.
Did you ever delete texts?
From last year?
Yes.
Yes.
After you had text messages with the defense, did you delete those texts?
Yeah, after the trial concluded, I mean, that's something I routinely do. I'm not going to keep texts from Mr. Jackson, especially now that we're past a year. I would have no reason to keep those, sir.
I'm not asking for the excuse. I'm asking if you did it. Did you delete texts?
Again, it's something that I typically do. I communicate with attorneys all the time, whether it's for trial or inspections. I don't have a habit of keeping a text chain about scheduling or meeting or, hey, can we meet at this time or show up here? I just don't have a habit of keeping that type of text. So he's not my friend, sir.
So you didn't delete texts?
And to Dr. Wolf's point, he had no idea that this would be something that would come up for a second trial because there was no major issue over ARCA going into the first trial. So why would he ever expect to say, well, I don't think I'm going to need to keep these texts for the second trial? It's just not going to happen. It's just insane. I don't imagine Dr. Wolf wakes up at 2 a.m. and he decides to look at his text messages in bed when he's laying next to his wife who's asleep. And remembering, oh, geez, I remember at 2:20 in the afternoon when I was talking to Alan Jackson and he sent me a wonderful message about Lipton iced tea. It's just again, Dr. Wolf thinks
not my friend.
Yeah.
Oh God. I mean, you can't make this up.
Yeah.
I think I just told you that, yes, I did delete the text.
You didn't tell me, but you just did now. Thank you.
Again, it's something that I typically do. I communicate with attorneys all the time, whether it's for trial or inspections. I don't have a habit of keeping a text chain about scheduling or meeting or, hey, can we meet at this time or show up here? I just don't have a habit of keeping that type of text. So he's not my friend, sir.
So you didn't delete texts?
I think I just told you that, yes, I did delete the text.
You didn't tell me, but you just did now. Thank you.
So next question, no comments, Mr. Bennett.
How many texts did you delete in communications with the defense?
I don't know the number, sir.
You don't know the numbers?
I don't have the text. So you're asking me over a year ago almost about text messages. I don't recall how many there were.
All right. Was there 10, 100, 1,000? How many were there?
Of ones that I sent?
No, not just what you sent. Either way, back and forth.
Probably, I don't know, maybe around 100 or so.
Please question him about deleted text. Please question him about deleted text. I mean, this is what this trial is based off of, just witnesses at 34 Fairview, people that have been the actors in this at 34 Fairview. What have they done? They've deleted text, they've smashed phones, they've broken SIM cards, they've taken selected data off phones and then submitted that to the police, not their full extractions. Please question him about deleted text messages.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I can't. Hank, the great Pandora Brennan, thanks for the 2, says, whoever liked O. Henry candy bars anyway.
Good point. Great point.
They're pretty good, though.
And when did you delete those over 100 texts between you and the defense?
As I mentioned, I think the last text that I remember was Mr. Jackson texting me, just thanking me for my time coming up here after the trial. Again, that was at the end of June. And then I didn't hear from him. And at some point, I don't know specifically when, it would have been last year, but I deleted those texts. There was no reason for me to keep those, sir.
Do you remember about when you made the affirmative intentional effort to delete around 100 text messages between you and the defense?
It would have been sometime after the trial, probably before I got my new phone in November, but it would have been probably in the month or 2 after the trial.
Where were you when you were deleting these texts? Were you at your office, at home? Do you remember?
I was on the can. He's like, I was in the bathroom on the can. Where were you? I'm I'm on the can. I'm deleting text messages on the can.
Deciding intentionally you were going to delete over 100 texts. Where did that decision happen?
Laughable.
I have no idea, sir.
You can't remember deleting over 100 texts?
Sir, I just said I delete text routinely. You're asking me to specifically give you a location and a time when I deleted those? I don't recall that.
You said it was after the trial.
Yes.
And out of the 100 texts or so, who were you texting on the defense team?
I believe it would have just been Mr. Jackson on that.
Did you ever communicate by any other means, like Signal or an application?
During the time of the trial?
Anytime.
Yes, sir.
With the defense?
Yes.
Is it typical for a biomechanical engineer to use an application like Signal to talk to an attorney on a case?
Sure.
You know the benefit of Signal, don't you?
I mean, it's a messaging platform, yes.
Well, encrypted app, isn't it?
What's that?
Encrypted?
I don't know, sir.
It keeps no record of the communication when you use an application like Signal, does it?
I don't know, sir.
Well, you used it. Did you have it on your phone that you were using it with other people?
No, I don't believe so.
So the only time that you use Signal in your career is when you were dealing with this defense team?
Yes, it was earlier this year. Mr. Jackson had communicated with me, indicating that it was his preferred method of communication. So yes, we did exchange some messages on Signal. But this was at no point in time during the first trial.
Using the Signal app, was that your suggestion?
No, again, I think it was Mr. Jackson that said it was his preferred method.
Is that standard in your industry to use Signal when you're talking to clients?
I don't know that there's a standard out there, sir.
I'm asking about your standard. Is it your standard to use an encrypted app when you're talking to attorneys?
If the client has that preference, I don't have a problem with it, sir.
How many times have you done it other than this defense team?
Again, as I just mentioned, it was the first time.
How many conversations do you think you had with the defense team by Signal?
Again, it would have been just Mr. Jackson. And like I said, it was really, I think, just in the month of March of this year, but it was brief. I know that I think we exchanged a couple phone calls, and I remember the call quality was terrible. So we'd really.
How about using the Signal Act to protect sensitive information from getting out or getting intersected by an outside entity or party? I mean, you're talking about a very serious case here.
Yep.
You have an app that is billions of people probably use, and you're talking about a pretty intense case. Why not put it on an app to protect sensitive information that you're discussing back and forth once you're hired as a client?
Exactly. Yep, that's a great point, and it's case in point, quite honestly. But from the prosecution standpoint, they want to always try to find a way to look at it from a perspective that's not with the innocence or straightforwardness, as you've just explained. They want to try to complicate it, complex it, and try to dig for some kind of bad ethics or practices or something like that. The kind of you guys did something, didn't you? And you guys were up to something you shouldn't have. Just that whole kind of play here, but it's desperate. And again, Dr. Wolf is not shying away from these questions at all. He's answering them very directly, and many times he's actually re-answered questions or re-emphasized previous points that he's made. So very straightforward here.
Yeah, and Mary's making a good point. Channel moderator, she says, "Hey, should we ask all the witnesses to use the Signal app?" And I'm seeing this. We all know that the government uses it. Yep, we've heard a lot about that lately. And Gretchen saying that military family uses it routinely. So, I mean, it's an app that's used by everybody around the world.
Really didn't use it that much.
Okay, you're saying a lot of things. You're saying you think. I want to know your best memory. I don't want you to think. If you don't know, you don't know. How many times did you use Signal with the defense to talk about this case?
Going to allow it.
From what I recall, was probably a handful of times.
When you say if what you recall, are you purposely being vague in case there's records, or do you not remember?
I don't remember, sir. As you mentioned, it doesn't keep a log of it, so I just don't recall.
Well, you don't have to rely on a log. You can rely on your actual memory.
Right. I'm telling you that I didn't keep track of it, so I don't know the specific number.
How many times do you think you talked by Signal?
As I just mentioned, I think it was a handful of times.
I don't know what a handful means.
Probably 4 to 5.
Well, was it 4 or was it 5?
It was probably 4 to 5. It's the best estimate I can give you.
How long were the conversations on Signal? 4 to 5 times.
I think they were pretty brief. I'd say probably around 5 minutes or so.
You think each one was 5 minutes?
Probably 5 minutes,
Are
yes.
you putting it on a timer? Each one had to be
Oh,
a maximum of
God.
5 minutes?
No, I'm just giving you my best estimate, sir.
How certain are you that the Signal calls were 4 to 5 minutes?
Again, I just told you I'm providing my best estimate.
How confident are you the time between 4
Does
and
it
5
matter
minutes?
if it's 4 minutes or 7 minutes?
That's the best answer I can give you, sir. I'm giving you my best estimate.
Does it matter if
I'm
it's
asking
4
how
calls or
confident
5
you are.
calls?
repetitive.
It's over detailed. Yeah, it's overly detailed. He's going down to the minute. I mean, he's almost asking for decimal points at this particular time. It's a little bit. It's overboard. I mean, if it's 4 or 5 times, fine. If it's 4 to 7 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, there's no significant difference in time. This is a big reach, and quite honestly, this prosecutor should be a little bit more, not necessarily stretching for details, but just trying to make an ultimate point that he's trying to make through his form of questioning, instead of trying to nitpick these details at such an excessive and belaboring level.
The thing that I don't understand here is Bev's clearly hearing these repetitive questions, and we've seen this a lot. Even with Alan Jackson, she does it a lot. Can we move this along? Now, I don't know the criteria of a voir dire if you're allowed to continuously do this. It's something that I can ask Nan or another lawyer when they come up on the channel. Is it a little bit more loose in a voir dire versus trial, where they're trying to move the trial? I don't know how this works. Again, I'm not an attorney, but I just think it's crazy that literally we've heard the same question 10 times. And if this was done in trial, especially by the defense, Bev would be like, that's it, Mr. Jackson, this is the last question. You need to move on now. Yeah. So Fancy Fact Finder, thank you so much for the 5. Says, he's not my friend, sir. And now you are not my friend, sir. Take that as an encrypt that in your app. All right. Here we
Can you answer that? How confident are you, Dr. Wolf?
I can't answer that anymore.
Okay.
Were
Next
you
question.
required by court order to provide all of the records to your honor?
Nan checking in saying this is a more rigorous voir dire. At trial, this won't happen. Okay. That clears it up.
You knew that one of the important things you need to respond to were communications between you and the defense for her honor to consider, right?
Yes.
And signal is a communication, isn't it?
Certainly.
You looked at all your records and knew it listed the text messages and the phone calls. You knew that, right?
Yes.
You knew that was going to be a representation that you were making to the court about your communications with the defense. You understood that, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
And you wouldn't want to mislead the court, would you?
No, which is why I told you.
I asked. You didn't put anywhere in your response to the court order that they were communications beyond text messages and phone calls. You never, ever alerted the court or anybody to that, did you?
Again, because I have no record of it. I have no way of being able to tell when those took place or how many there were.
The question I asked you is when you responded to the court order to provide all communications, and you responded by offering text messages and you responded by listing phone calls, you knew that your signal calls were communications, didn't you?
I provide everything that I had in my possession, sir.
That's not what I'm asking you. You knew the signal calls were communications, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. And you never informed in your response that they were phone calls through Signal.
Here we go.
As part of your communications, did you?
Again, because I didn't have any record like I do with the Verizon entries as well as the emails. I could not. There's nothing I had in my possession, sir.
Mm-hmm. You've read this court order, haven't you?
Yes.
Did you understand when the court was looking for all communications, it meant all communications?
And I've provided everything that I have in my possession, sir.
During those 4 to 5 Signal communications, did any of these occur before the end of the last trial?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Did any of these Signal communications happen before the end of the last trial?
No, he said he hadn't communicated
No,
with them
like I said,
during
they
the
were all
last
this
trial.
year.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Now, at some point, did the defense send you a retainer agreement?
For this year?
Nope. Prior to the end of the last trial, did you ever get a retainer agreement?
No, there was no contract and retainer for the
Not
first
that there
trial.
wasn't a contract. Did you ever receive a retainer agreement?
No, I don't believe so.
When you came out to the last voir dire and the last trial, did you have an agreement with any entity that was going to pay for your costs?
No, sir.
So you had no agreement that you were going to be refunded or compensated for your costs?
No.
Did you have any agreement that you were going to be compensated for your time?
No.
So when you were asked to come out and testify in this case, tell me, did you think that the defense was going to compensate you for the costs of you coming out here?
Let's get to this. Lauren is a good point. I've talked about this as well, too. So she goes, so Hank basically scrutinizes Arca about deleting text messages, but wants us to look the other way when their own witnesses are butt dialing, deleting everything. It's a great point. I mean, it just goes to show, it's just so worthless and pointless to be sitting here doing this.
I had no idea who was ultimately going to pay the invoice, if an invoice was even sent.
Yep.
Did you think that you were coming out here to testify for free?
Again, I don't know who was going to pay the bill. I'm not.
That's not what I'm asking you. I want
See, now they're back to this again.
Having these conversations
He's
with
back
the
to this
defense.
again.
Yeah. He's going to go back to
It's
it.
just back to this again. It's backtracking. It's just, he's asking the same. I think some people had said this on X as well. he's asking the same questions over and over again with subtle different manners of doing so, but it's all repetitive. It's just the same thing. It's like he's trying to goad or bait a different answer out of him every single time. And it's just not going to work, because again, Dr. Wolf is just answering the questions as is. And this is like Attorney Betterow likes to say, and Attorney Dan Gallagher likes to say, it's a nothing burger.
Yeah,
there's
nothing
there.
burger. Yeah. Just while we're paused here, just please, everybody, make sure to smash the like button down below. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And you can also go over and subscribe to my guest channel as well, MazzaMedia. That's MazzaMedia. I love saying that, by the way.
Thank you.
And just make sure to subscribe on his channel as well, too. He's very engrossed in the Karen Reed case as well. So if you haven't checked him out, go over and check out his channel. All right, we'll keep playing through here. We're almost just a little bit more over halfway through. We're almost done.
And they asked you to come out here. Did you expect to be compensated for your time?
Again, I'm a salaried employee, so it
salaried
doesn't matter to
employee.
me. I'm sure my boss would like us to get paid. No, I did not know ultimately who would pay an invoice if an invoice was sent after the trial.
Well, you were keeping track of your billing, weren't you?
I was keeping track of my time, yes.
And you kept track of your costs, didn't you?
The company does that, yes.
Did you?
Oh my!
Again, I enter my time so that the company can keep track of my time, yes.
When you came out here and made travel arrangements,
It is that
did
one.
you have any conversations with anybody from the defense?
About the travel arrangements?
Yes.
Yes.
And as far as the travel arrangements, who on the defense was trying to help you with travel arrangements?
I believe it was Mr. Jackson.
Was there other people, associates, colleagues that were helping you as well?
None that I had direct communication with. I don't know if he communicated with others after that.
Was there a person named Kat? You ever hear that name before?
I believe that, yeah, she may have escorted me into the courtroom, I think.
Well, you don't believe, because that's a pretty particular name. So when you use words like you believe, you know. So did you meet a person by the name of Kat?
No, but I did meet a person named
I think
Joe
when I arrived
Flipperhead.
here, yes.
Well, without qualification, the
What's
simple
that, Mazza?
I said no, but I did meet a person named Joe Flipperhead.
question is, you've met Kat, haven't you?
I think I met her. It was either at the voir dire day or the trial day, yes.
Now, does Kat work for the defense?
I have no idea who she is.
Well, how did you know who she was? How was the introduction? How did that go down?
I just mentioned, I think she escorted me here to the courtroom.
Escorted you from where?
I think I drove here and I arrived, I believe, in the church parking lot across the street. And I think she walked me over. And then ultimately when I was done, I think she walked me back to the lot.
Do you have conversations with anybody from the defense about how you would get here and why it is in particular you would park at the church parking lot?
Because I had no idea where to go.
But who told you where to go?
Like I mentioned, I communicated with Mr. Jackson, who provided that information to me.
And did you have any significance about the church parking lot? Did that mean anything to you?
No, he had just indicated, I think, that they had reserved it and it was a spot that I could park my vehicle.
Okay. And when you got there, did you meet with anybody from the defense?
I can't recall if they were standing out there and we walked in together. I don't recall.
I'm asking if you've met them, not whether you walked in together. I'll ask it again. When you arrived after these plans were made, did you meet with the defense before you came into court?
On the voir dire day, I don't believe, I can't recall if the defense was out there. I think on the day of trial, I think I met Mr. Jackson and maybe a couple of other members of the defense team.
Well, when you say you think, this was a pretty remarkable event coming to this trial, wasn't it?
Don't allow it.
It's a pretty remarkable event, this trial, wasn't it?
It's unique, yes.
Yeah, it's unique. And so when you came here, having had all these conversations with Attorney Jackson, you don't remember if you met him before you came in for voir dire or came in for trial? You don't remember if you met him?
Well, like I said, I think for the voir dire, I think he was already, I believe, in the courthouse. So I think the first time I actually shook his hand and met him was the day of the trial, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. And tell me, is that near the church parking lot that you met with them?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Was it near the church parking lot where you met with them?
Yes.
Okay. You shook his hand. This is meeting face to face?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Did you have a conversation about the case?
We skipped and held
I don't believe so, no.
When you say you don't believe so, do you think you had a conversation about the case?
At that point in time, no. I was getting ready to take the stand, so I don't think we had a conversation about it.
You were speaking to the defense or Attorney Jackson on June 10th, 2024. That was before your voir dire testimony, correct?
I believe so, yes.
And do you remember what those conversations were about?
I presume it was about the logistics of when we were needed. And then I know that ultimately I served as kind of the primary point of contact where I think Alan would reach out to me. He would give me some information about the scheduling and kind of when we would need it. And I would check in with Dr. Rentschler, and then I would get back to Mr. Jackson. So there was kind of that channel of communication to try to figure out when we were to arrive and where we're supposed to go.
You're not saying that all your conversations with Alan were just logistics, were you?
I believe for the most part, yes.
I can't with this chat.
Tobias Bibb's point, though, I mean, it's to this point. I mean, you have to be this sarcastic because this line of questioning is so absurd. It's belaboring and it's just ridiculous. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, I got from point A to point B. I took a plane or I took a car. I got here. I parked in the. I feel like the guy in Office Space. I deal with the damn customers. It's like, what the hell is wrong with you people? Can't you see? I have people skill. It's just like I don't understand what. More, it's just these questions are so belaboring, and I'm going to put this on the judge a little bit and critique her. Move this along a little bit more. I understand it's like Attorney Dan Gallagher specified, this is a little bit more invasive, the line of questioning, but it's also belaboring the same questions in a circle. We're talking about the same things in a loop over and over and over again. It's just come on. Let's move on.
He's like, I don't know. They rolled out a red carpet and I walked to the courtroom. I mean,
Jeez.
What do you want me to say?
So it took hundreds of texts, 100 texts for logistics.
Oh, God.
Absolutely. I can certainly go into the day before my trial testimony, which was a very extensive travel day where I don't even think I left the Philadelphia airport.
We're going to get there, but there's a lot more communications before we get even close to that. Okay. Do you remember on June 10th having conversations?
I mean, you're not going to rattle this guy. I mean, he's a skilled engineer that probably has been in multitude of business negotiations with clients. I mean, and has probably been scrutinized and questioned on his research and development, and probably gets into discussions like this with engineers all the time. I mean, engineers work that way. Scientists work that way. They go back and forth and they try to prove their theories. You're not going to rattle this guy.
No.
Let's see. Nan says, I love how Wolf just chuckled at him. I love that. Auntie Bev's Kangaroo Court, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. And I saw the Goodmans earlier. I forgot to mention this one. It gifted a 1 membership too. So welcome new members. Make sure to smash that like button. Britt Happens checking in. Hello, Britt. How are you?
What's going on, Britt?
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Attorney Jackson.
I do remember that there was conversations.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, June 10th is 8 days before your testimony. Did you ever talk about the outline of your testimony or what your testimony would be?
No, sir.
Okay. You ultimately have more conversations on June 16th. Do you remember those conversations on June 16th?
Not specifically, no.
You don't remember them specifically? Do you remember whether or not you talked about the case with Attorney Jackson on June 16th?
God.
We did not talk about the case, no.
Did you ever email with Attorney Jackson around that time?
In June 10th?
Before your voir dire?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. So everything from your mind was just logistics at that point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you came in for June 17th?
I believe the voir dire was the 18th.
Okay. Do you remember having phone calls on the 18th with Attorney Jackson?
The day of the voir dire?
Yes.
I could have to let him know that I arrived.
So you check in with a client, tell them you're on their way, even though you're not going to meet them?
To let them know that I'm coming to court.
And so when you testified in the voir dire, then did you have further conversations with Attorney Jackson?
After the voir dire?
Yeah.
Yes.
And did you talk about the case?
No, sir.
You had to testify, or you came and you testified on the 24th?
That sounds right.
You had a number of phone calls before the 24th. You had a series of phone calls on the 17th, 2 on the 18th, 2 on the 19th.
He's
you know what any of those were
laughing
about?
at him right now.
I think it was about the logistics of arriving here because I know that I was going to, as opposed to driving, I was going to fly in this time.
Okay, how about the 21st and 23rd? There's a call on the 21st and 2 on the 23rd. Did you talk about the case?
No.
And so when you came into trial to testify, you were just relying on the opinions you had already provided in the past?
That were written in the February 12th report
Yeah.
of 2024?
Yeah.
Yes.
And you had not talked about the case with Attorney Jackson or any member of this team?
No, it was all in the report, and that's ultimately what I testified exactly to at the time of trial in the voir dire, sir.
And you did not talk to Attorney Jackson or anybody else about the case?
No, sir.
May I approach?
Yes.
He's crushing him right now. I testified to what was in the report. He's crushing him.
Showing you an email. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
From you to who?
To Mr. Jackson.
Okay. And what's it labeled as?
Wolf Direct.
And that's before you testified on trials on the board?
It's at 6 p.m. the night before I testified. Yes.
So it's before you testified.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay. Let me show you this document. You recognize that one?
Yes.
What's that?
That is the attachment to the email.
Okay. You recognize reading that?
Yes.
Do you recognize discussing the case before you testified on June 24th, 2024?
I never discussed this with him. This is something that I sent to him that I did on my own and that I sent to him. But he never asked this of me and we never discussed it.
So you sent him what you thought would be the best questions and answers.
Oh, God.
And he asked you when you testified.
So this is something I routinely do when I work with attorneys, okay? I prepare this on my own to prep myself and prepare for trial.
Can I get that, please? There's an email and asked you when you testified.
So this was the moment that everybody had a little scrutiny about this, where it looked like Bev was going to do something and Hank kind of shook his head and shook her off.
Yeah. I remember this part. Yeah.
This. Let's watch this a little bit here.
This is something that I sent to him that I did on my own and that I sent to him. But he never asked this of me and we never discussed it.
So you sent him what you thought would be the best questions and answers to him and asked you when you testified.
So this is something I routinely do when I work with attorneys, okay? I prepare this on my own to prep myself and prepare for trial.
It was like she was like waiting to get a signal or something. It was kind of weird. It was just, I mean, I'm not gonna, you know,
Yeah,
I'm only
speculate on-
speculating. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a very weird moment, and she
Is
kind
it
of
possible now? Is it possible? I don't want to try to, because this is the way I think. Anytime I try to form a theory, I also try to form a counter theory.
Sure.
So is it possible, based on the camera angle, that Hank Brennan is not looking at the judge, but he's actually looking at Lori McLaughlin or Adam Lally, and then Judge Cannone happens to just move? Let's replay. Is it possible?
Yeah, I'll go back.
I always like to have an alternative theory. That's a quote from Jack Reacher.
I never discussed this with him. This is something that
He's looking down at Wolf right now. Okay, so his eyes are here at that report.
I sent to him that I did on my own and that I sent to him. But
He looked like he looked at Bev real quick.
he never asked this of me and we never discussed it.
So
He looked over at into the
Yeah,
because I can see a better angles. I'm very close to the shot
Yeah.
right now.
yeah.
He did look over at the Commonwealth table. So he's kind of watching everything that's going on. I just want to see this.
sent him what you thought would be the best questions and answers to him and asked you when you testified.
So this is something I routinely do when I work with attorneys, okay? I prepare this on
I mean,
I'm not trying to debunk this, but
Yeah.
it could have been possible he was looking at his team. I know we want to have
don't
theories.
know.
I know we do, but I'm not trying to be, I don't know. Looked like he was looking over at Lally. Remember that now if you look at, I'm not trying to debunk this. I apologize, folks.
Sure.
But if you look at, he's standing in front of that podium that Wolf is on, and Nick Rocco saying it wasn't the Bev either. That podium stands out, where he's sitting stands out about 2 to 3 feet. He would have to look, his shoulders are square with that, and it's right in the direction of that. I think it's to the Nick Rocco even said too. He thinks it's to them.
He goes, it wasn't to Bev. Maybe someone was gonna get up with a report, hand him a document, stand up and say something, but I don't know. I mean, listen, I understand a lot of people. This was debated online. Really, I don't know. I wasn't there. I know Nick was in the courtroom that day, and he's saying it wasn't to Bev.
Well, we'll never know.
We're never going to know. I think everybody has their own speculation about it, but we'll continue.
my own to prep myself and prepare for trial.
Can I get that, please? There's an email with a document that I can attach as an exhibit.
Okay. Exhibit 1.
I missed the old Madam Court reporter.
I know. Yeah, I miss her too.
So
She
you
was good.
assisted the defense before your testimony.
Hold on.
Oh, here we go. See, now it almost seems like someone came up and handed him a report, and you can hear him talking about it. That's not what I asked for or something. I heard it. You hear someone get up
Exhibit 1.
here.
1.
So you assisted the defense before your testimony.
Hold on.
There's some whispering there.
Thank you. So you assisted the defense in anticipation of your testimony by sharing with them the questions and answers you thought would be most helpful?
Again, as I mentioned, this is something that I do internally to prepare. I sent that to him the evening before I testified at 6 p.m. I presume that he already had his direct examination done at that point. So I sent that to him, yes.
That's a lot of answers.
And I think he's going to throw, if I remember, he's going to go, and if you would have engaged us, I would have done this for you too. I think throws this in here. This is really good.
Which is other than the one for my question. So one for my question.
Hold the comments, please.
So my question was, you had communications offering information to the defense before you testified in a way that you thought would help the testimony.
Oh, look at this.
Well, first off, I have no idea if he even read it or utilized anything from it.
But that's not really answering the question I just asked, is it?
Can you repeat the question?
Of course I can.
Repeat that question.
So when you sent a direct examination to Attorney Jackson before your testimony, you communicated with Attorney Jackson, providing information that you thought would best help your testimony in court.
Well, I think ultimately it's to help the jury understand my report and my analysis.
Don't hide behind the jury.
Do you think it's helpful not answering the question and just
Don't hide behind
every
the
time I
jury.
ask you something? Do you think that's helpful?
Sustained.
Do you want to answer my question or do you want me to move on?
Uh-oh, here we go.
I think I answered your question.
I don't think you did, so I'll ask it one more time.
All right, no
Go ahead,
comment.
Mazza. What are you going to say?
That's testy. That's really testy, that back and forth there. You got to
Oh,
answer
yeah.
the question. I think I did answer your question. I don't think you didn't.
I deserve the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Right, exactly.
I want him to answer the question, Judge. You don't have to answer the question. I'd like him to answer the question, Judge.
Yeah.
Please.
Court will
Do you
wait for an
think
answer.
that providing a direct examination to the defense before you testified is in any way assisting preparing for your testimony?
Again, I don't know if he even utilized this, sir. And certainly if the Commonwealth had reached out, they could have gotten a copy of that as well. It would have been the same exact outline, whether I testified on behalf of the defense or behalf of the Commonwealth.
Boom. There it is. And boom goes the dynamite. It just got you, pal.
You don't want to answer my question?
Sustained.
Did you ever make any comments
He's
or
laughing at him.
discuss the outline?
He's going to run out of water in that Fiji bottle after all these
The
questions.
testimony for the
Seriously.
defense.
I did put comments, yes.
When I just showed you that document and you said you just sent it because this is a standard thing, why didn't you just tell us that you made comments that would assist the defense? Why didn't you share that when I just asked the question?
I don't understand your
You don't
question.
understand my question. I asked you about the outline, the direct examination you provided to the defense, and you gave me a response that this is something typical, but it's just an outline. You wouldn't answer whether it would help the defense or not, but the reality is you were assisting the defense, isn't it?
I'm going to allow that.
You were making suggestions to help the defense, weren't you?
Sir, it wasn't to help the defense. It wasn't to help anyone but the jury understand things. As I just mentioned, that outline, if it was asked if I had sent one to the Commonwealth, you would have gotten the exact same copy.
You didn't send one to the Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth never reached out to us, sir.
So what you said in this is there was a question about, so not being able to inspect the vehicle is something that is not uncommon in your line of work, and you wrote back, absolutely not, correct?
Correct.
And you made a comment to assist the jury, according to you, only to assist the jury. Not sure if you want to put this somewhere in the direct examination. I have a feeling they're going to argue I didn't personally inspect the vehicles. I had enough information from the material I reviewed, so it wasn't necessary. Need to show jury it doesn't matter in this case. Were those your comments to the defense before your testimony?
Absolutely. It would have been the same argument probably from the defense if you had called me a witness about not being able to inspect the vehicle. I wanted the jury to have an understand that for the analysis I undertook, it did not matter that I did not physically inspect the vehicle, sir.
So when you're telling us here under oath before this court that you did nothing to assist the defense, you do not think that you making these suggestions on how to better the testimony for the defense, you don't think that's helping the defense?
No.
Okay. You said, not sure if you want to put this somewhere in the direct examination. So you're making suggestions to the defense about what you think could be helpful in the direct examination, correct?
Sir, there were never any conversations between me and Mr. Jackson about what questions to ask, what not to ask. Again, I prepared that internally on my behalf and sent that to him. Whether he utilized it or not, I have no idea.
Not my question. Not my question. What I'm asking you is when you wrote to the defense and said, not sure if you want to put this somewhere in the direct examination.
Yes,
Stop making
slow
this
down.
comment.
When you wrote and offered, unsolicited according to you, to the defense, not sure if you want to put this somewhere in the direct examination, weren't you trying to help, sir?
I don't believe so, no, sir.
And then when you wrote, I have a feeling they are going to
Don't hide
argue
behind the jury.
I didn't personally inspect the vehicles. Who's they?
Well, it would have been the prosecution in this case.
But you're not taking sides. You're totally objective, right?
Sir, that is a question that's routinely raised when I testify about whether or not we inspect the vehicle. So I know it would be a potential issue that would be raised by either side.
So you were alerting the defense that you thought that this may become an issue, weren't you?
It was more or less to make sure the jury had an understanding that because I didn't physically inspect the vehicle, it did not matter for my analysis, sir. I wanted to make sure the jury understood that.
Don't hide behind the jury. I'm talking about your communications with the defense. I'm asking you specifically about your conversations with the defense.
That's two questions. Ask one question.
You wrote, I have a feeling they are going to argue I didn't personally.
So this is because Hank is not getting it from him, and he's getting pissed. He can't control himself. He's not getting the information. He's not getting. He's trying to trap him into a lie and like make this guy lie, and he has no skin in the game here. He's just going to tell it like it is, and it's not working. And Hank's tact is not working, so he's going to raise his voice and act tough and be Whitey Bulger mobster guy, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Inspect the vehicles. That's what you wrote, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. The tone of the argumentation.
Did you write that?
Yes.
Right. And when you said they, you're referring to the opposition, the Commonwealth, correct?
Correct.
Right. And you offer an explanation or a way to deal with what the Commonwealth may confront you with, don't you? You make a suggestion to help the defense, don't you?
Again, it was to help the jury understand that because I did not physically inspect the vehicle, it did not matter for my analysis. That was the point I was trying to make.
I had enough information from the material I reviewed, so it wasn't necessary. Need to show the jury it doesn't matter in this case. That's what you wrote.
Right. Need to show the jury. Yeah. That's what I was trying to make sure that point was understood to the jury.
And your collaboration with the defense, that's not all you wrote, is it? You gave them discretion about things that you should or shouldn't say in front of that jury who you say you want to hear everything. Didn't you?
There were other comments, yes.
If you want the jury to hear everything, you wouldn't be relying on the defense to tell you what to say and not say, would you?
I don't know if I understand your question.
Okay, you'll understand if I read this. Number 19. Would it be fair to say that because you do a lot of nighttime visibility work, your cases frequently involve pedestrians? You remember that one?
Yes.
And then you wrote back, yes, unfortunately, there is a direct correlation between the time of day and pedestrian fatalities. You remember that?
Yes.
Statistically speaking, most pedestrian fatalities occur during the evening and night hours. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
So my specialty in the area of lighting and human factors results in a lot of my cases involving pedestrians. Yes?
Yes.
And then do you defer to the defense, not the jury, trying to give the full story to the jury. Do you defer to the defense in exercising discretion on what you will or will not say to the jury back then?
Well, allow me to explain, if you will.
I'm asking you a question.
Well, let me explain.
No, I'm asking you, did you defer?
Answer the question first.
Did you defer to the defense on what information they wanted you to put in front of that last jury or not?
I didn't defer to them. The reason for that comment is a few reasons, sir.
Let me read it, and then you can give any explanation you want.
Hold on.
Let's get some order. Let's get some decorum in this courtroom, shall we?
Yeah, let's get
some decorum in here. Yeah. This is way out of order, this court.
Yeah, this is a little ridiculous. And Bev allowing this to go on.
Yeah, that's right.
Shame on her. She constantly silences defense. In matters like this of back and forth. We've seen it with Jennifer McCabe over the last couple of days, her cutting Alan Jackson off constantly. This is badgering a witness right now.
Pretty much.
He's yelling at a witness.
Yeah.
This guy has no skin in the game. He's just he's someone that provided an experimentation report and came to a conclusion.
Yeah.
And he's pissed off because, again, I mean, this is the case. This is the case.
Well, you said, if you don't want me to say this, that's fine. Are those your words?
Yes. Allow me to explain. Because for one, I want the jury to have an understanding, again, the jury to have an understanding of my background in lighting and human factors and how it relates to me seeing a lot of pedestrian impacts, right? So I want them to have that understanding. At the same time, I don't want them to get caught up in the statistic that just because there's more pedestrian impacts at night, that this alleged incident must have occurred because of that statistic.
Question 31. Have you been qualified as an expert in court before? And you wrote back, yes. Remember that?
Yes.
And then you made another comment. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I realized in my testimony, I said about 20 times when you asked how many times I've been qualified. You were referring to your voir dire testimony, correct?
Correct.
I misinterpreted your questions, which was my fault. But in looking at my D&T lists, it's 11 trials and 7 depositions, 18 testimonies total, correct?
Correct.
I'm not sure if you want me to clear this up or just leave it. Wouldn't you want to clear up a misstatement when you realize you've made a mistake? Wouldn't you want to inform the court? I stated qualifications I didn't have. It was unintentional, but it was a mistake.
Well, that's exactly why I put the comment in there, sir.
You put the comment. You didn't put the comment to the Commonwealth, did you?
Again, you all never contacted us, sir.
Did you comment to the court who you made representations in front of? Did you let the court know that you made a representation that was inaccurate?
Again, that's why I put the comment in there to.
Did you inform the court about your misrepresentation?
No, I did not inform the court.
You relied on the defense and gave them the discretion whether they were going to clarify the record or not, correct?
But I provided the clarification, yes.
Mr. Brennan, could you move along, please?
So we're 53 minutes in an hour voir dire, and this is when we get, can we move along?
Yeah, I know.
Unreal.
Oh, boy.
As you sit here today, you don't really know how many communications you had with the defense before your last testimony, do you?
Losing his shit.
For trial one,
Yes, trial one.
I think it's all memorialized in the records and the emails that were produced.
The ones that were produced, but not things that were lost or destroyed or deleted, correct?
Again, there are records, even though the
Should we even be talking about this, Hank? Come on. He literally just said destroyed, deleted, or lost. Oh, God.
physical texts aren't there, there's certainly records of the calls, incoming, outgoing, as well as texts.
Do you remember when you testified in the voir dire, you were asked that before that morning when you walked into court, you had never met Attorney Jackson face to face?
Correct.
But you met him in court that day, right?
I believe I met him that day, yes.
You were asked whether or not you had ever discussed at trial now, after the voir dire, on June 24th, you were asked whether you ever discussed the substance of any of your testimony. Do you remember that?
Correct.
And so when you shared questions and answers and suggestions by email, was the statement under oath, you and I have never discussed the substance of your testimony. Is that still truthful?
We never discussed it, sir. Again, I sent it to him on my own behalf. There was no discussion that took place between Mr. Jackson about that.
You made comments after this was exchanged.
That was sent with the comments, sir.
And then you were asked whether you had ever been paid by the defense. You said no. You were later paid by the defense, weren't you?
ARCA did send an invoice afterwards, yes.
Did you talk to Arca about that? About the billing in this case?
No.
You submitted your bill? Yes?
ARCA submitted the bill?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Klein, he was involved in the testing you did, wasn't he?
Yes.
Why is it that Mr. Klein didn't come in and join you? Who made that decision for trial?
Well, I think it was around, again, when we were talking about those June calls, I think that there was some discussion between Mr. Jackson and myself about Mr. Klein's involvement. And ultimately, he's also an accident reconstructionist. So it essentially would have been duplicative testimony. So we didn't feel, or Mr. Jackson, I don't think felt it was necessary to call Mr. Klein as well.
That sounds like a little bit more than just scheduling, doesn't it?
I would describe that as logistics, sir.
Logistics. You had to describe what Mr. Klein's role was or wasn't in that report, didn't you?
Again, I went over his background as an accident reconstructionist, yes.
Well, so you only talked about background, and from that the decision was made not to call him, or did you talk about his role in your testing and in your opinions?
I didn't talk about his role, sir. I think ultimately the decision obviously was made by Mr. Jackson. Not
I
me.
understand that, but I want to know what the conversation was that led to the decision not to call Mr. Klein. It wasn't simply logistics. What was the discussion you had?
Well, I told him that, again, we're both accident reconstructionists. Dr. Rentschler is a biomechanical engineer, so there would have been essentially duplicative testimony from both of us.
Well, your report's never very clear who did what. Would you agree with me? The report is a general report that has yours, Dr. Rentschler, and Dr. Klein's name on it. Would you agree with me?
All three of our names are on it,
It
yes.
doesn't distinguish who did what in that report, does it?
Oh, God.
Correct, but I think it certainly was testified to at the voir dire in the time of trial.
Before the voir dire, when you spoke to the defense, did you explain to them what the different roles were for the different people that led to the decision not to call Mr. Klein?
Again, we went over our backgrounds, and I think from that you can deduce that.
I don't know what that means.
Well, if you're familiar with what an accident reconstructionist does and you're familiar with what a biomechanical engineer does, then you would be able to understand that.
It would be easy to understand if you could just tell us what the conversation was. That's what I'm asking about.
That was great. And just, bringing in Klein, he's basically saying, like, we're just going to testify to pretty much the same thing. So it's kind of moronic to bring him in here and do this. We got about another 2 minutes in here, and then we'll get a final thought and wrap this one up. I want to thank my guest this evening for jumping on really quick.
No, we have a viral video to go over after this. There's video that just surfaced of Mike Crawford at the Peabody fundraiser tonight. Deanna Corby posted this to the Justice page.
Oh,
it's Mike lighting it up on the dance floor. We're not leaving this show. We're not going to play it on this show. I'm recording it right now, and this is going right on my X page in a couple of minutes. This is hilarious.
Oh, God. But I want to thank my guest this evening, MazzaMedia, for jumping on and hanging out. And we're going to play that.
This is gold. Mike Crawford is the man.
When you had a conversation with the defense, did you tell them the role that Mr. Klein played in your investigation and in your conclusions?
Again, I told him that we are both accident reconstructionists.
Okay. And he chose you instead of Mr. Klein. Did you say there was a difference between you and Mr. Klein and what you did?
No, again, we were both a part of the testing. We were both a part of the review. So we had exactly the same role, essentially.
Did you tell him that?
No, I told him that we were both accident reconstructionists.
And you remember that's all you said about it?
Yes.
During the voir dire in the trial, did you get to watch any of the Commonwealth experts?
No, I don't believe so.
Did you ever communicate with the defense about any questions and answers that could or should be asked?
No, but I will note that during the entirety of the first trial, the Department of Justice was closely watching it, and we had certainly a direct line of communication with them that they were giving us and providing us information about the trial as it was ongoing.
Did you ever communicate with the defense about questions and answers to ask?
No, sir.
Did you ever see anybody's testimony at any time during the first trial?
I might have seen a few news clips, but I didn't watch any specifically, no.
Did you ever watch anybody's testimony? Did you ever watch any of the reconstruction testimony?
No, sir.
Did you, after the trial, spend any private time with the defense?
No, I left town.
Okay. You didn't go to lunches or parties or anything like that?
No, I went straight to the airport.
And sir, is there any other communications that you've had with the defense that you didn't tell us about outside the texts and the phone calls and the signal calls? Or any other communications that you can think of that you had with the defense?
No, sir. I've provided everything I have in my possession.
I have no further questions.
All right. Oh, gosh. It's just torturous to listen to that.
Oh, it's horrible.
Why did he even go
horrible.
through this? Why did he even go through this?
I know, it was torture, especially the last 10 minutes.
Oh my
God.
Goodness. It's such a joke. Do you have it up on your X page yet?
It's uploading it right now.
All right.
I'll tag you in it. This is it might have copyrighted music, just so you know, so you might just want to play it on mute.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play I'm gonna turn the sound off.
Okay.
And watch. And I'm sure Joe Flipperhead will put some music over it.
Oh yeah, it's going on. Yeah. Instead of the safety dance, it's the grifter dance.
I want to thank everybody for hanging out tonight. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Go over and check out MazzaMedia on YouTube and X, MazzaMedia. You can find them over there. And then we'll be back here on maybe tomorrow night. I think I'm going to do another show on tomorrow night, and I'm going to have a show on Sunday. Sunday, I got some surprise guests coming into the studio. In-studio guests. That's going to be a later show. It's not going to be in the morning. I'm going to do that one at 3 o'clock. Then I'll be back for Monday night with Todd McGee and Nan Gallagher joining me up for the Monday wind-up. And that should be fun.
Just about 40% uploaded right now.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
It's going on X. This is going on. Oh, this is going on X. Love that. Mike has got some dance moves. We're going to find out that Mike's got some serious dance moves right now. This is amazing. I cannot wait for Mark Bettero's reaction to this dance video. That is going to be hilarious. Oh, my goodness.
Everybody's loving you, Mazza.
Thank you, Mrs. K. I appreciate it.
Best. Thank you.
This video is taking forever to upload. I apologize.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll chill here for a minute. Great show. Good to see you, Brian and Mazza. Thank you. Appreciate that. Make sure to smash that like button.
70% uploaded right now. It's getting.
How many likes do we got? Can we get 1,000 likes before we're out of here? It's more than 1,000 people watching. If one of you's just, how about this? I'll put a challenge out there right now. We are currently at 679 likes. Let's get 1,000 likes, and I'll donate $100 to the Karen Reed Defense Fund.
Wow.
Let's do it. It's easy. Just do it. Smash that like button. Let's get 1,000 likes in the next, I don't know, couple minutes here. We can do it. I'll donate $100 to Karen Reed Defense Fund. Let's go.
Almost fully uploaded. It's getting there. It's closing in. Almost there. Come on. It's taking forever to upload. I apologize.
Well, we got time because I want to get that 1,000 likes.
Yeah. That's right. Exactly. Smash that like button. All right, it's up. It just came up.
Let me load up my 100 here.
Sure.
And hang on. Let's just hang here for a second.
I don't even think the video even has any music now. I've had this headset on, so I can't even tell. Mike is tearing it up on this dance floor.
All right. Hang on a second. I just want to get my all right, let me know, chat, if we get to 1,000 likes. And all right, so what do we got here? Let's refresh Maz's page. And I think I see it. Okay. Oh god, he is. It kind of looks fake. It looks like a meme. All right, let me do this.
Oh, this is great.
All right, here we go. Mike Crawford tearing it up. I'm going to turn the music off.
There's like a circle of women around him, and he's dancing in the middle. High fiving.
I mean, high fives at the end.
Oh, this is great.
Oh, he cut the hair. It looks good.
Yeah, yeah. We can dance if we want to.
That's great. YMCA. It's time to go to the YMCA.
Footloose.
I
don't know the words. Footloose.
Yeah, he's cutting rug.
This is going viral tonight. Our man Mike Crawford out there.
I gotta
Love it.
retweet this after.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. Good stuff. All right,
That's
how many
awesome.
likes do we got? Come on, how many? We have. I want to give away. I want to donate $100. What do we got? Let me refresh here. Can we get to 1,000? We're at 863. Come on, we can do better than that. I want to donate this money. Just smash the like button.
Yeah.
Let's get it to 1,000 likes. I'm not leaving the air until I get this 1,000.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Come on, come on, come on. It's easy. Smash the like button. I got to turn that into like a. This is a super chat dance.
Yeah, yeah. The super chat. I know that's gonna be the super chat.
As a super chat dance.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Lara does. I think we got a super chat. Super chat.
Love it. I'm gonna throw up a like for you guys. I just got another like in there
Right,
for you.
879. We can do better than that. I need
All right.
1,000 likes. Come on. Yeah, look at there's 1,200 people in here right now. It's free. It's free to do that. I want to donate this money. It's ready.
Someone posted, goes, Mazza, no, you didn't. No, you didn't just post that. That was one of the replies to that.
Yeah,
post.
here we go. All right, let's guess. Let's guess what song is playing. So Chappie's wife says, "I like big butts and I cannot lie." I think it's the YMCA song. What song do you think it is, Matt?
I don't know. There's no song on it, but that's awesome.
Are we at 1,000 yet? 903. Come on, let's get this going. I want to donate this $100. I dare you. Dr. Wolf was a waste of an hour. Yeah, it was a complete waste of an hour. It's Raining Men. Beach Life said, it's Raining Men, staying alive.
Staying alive.
Yeah, I love it. Raining Men. You guys are so much fun. I love the show. Well, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. During the later week, we get a little bit more loose. Towards the beginning of the week, it's a little bit more serious. Boots on the fur.
Yeah. Apple bottom jeans.
Apple bottom jeans. Yeah, let's get 1,000 likes for Mike's dance moves.
That's awesome.
All right, where are we at here? Let's take a look. 921. I got it. 920. Come on. We got to get this. We got to get this in before I go. Austin Powers.
Yeah.
Get low. Someone said get low.
All right. I'm going to call it a night, my man. All right.
I'm going to hang here until I get this like. Thank you, Maz. I appreciate you for jumping on.
Free Karen Reed. Everyone take care of yourselves. All right. We're going to keep the fight up and keep supporting Karen. Keep supporting Turtle Boy. Keep supporting each other. And free Karen Reed, free Turtle Boy. Everyone have a great night. Tomorrow's Friday. The week's almost over already. So take care.
Take care, buddy. Thanks for coming on tonight. All right. We're going to hang here for a minute. I want to get this 1,000 likes in. Where are we at? Let's donate some money to Karen Reed's defense. This is money to Karen Reed's defense fund. Let's go. We're at 932. We can do better than this. How many people we got in the chat? There's over 1,000. There's over 1,100 people in here. Really? You can't hit that like button? Come on. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Let's give away some moolah. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, hit that like button. 940. Come on. 60 more people. Smash it. And then we're going to give away 100 to Karen Reed's defense fund. I'm at 951. Yeah, it's on Mike Crawford's channel. You can check it out on the Young Jerks. I'm at 951. When I refreshed, I'm at 951, 955, 954. We just got a couple more to go, and then I'll donate that $100. 956. Oh, look at this. If you put the link in the defense fund, I'll match $100 of Bryant. Look at that. I'm going to drop the link. I'm going to drop the fundraiser link. I love the match. All right, here comes that link. Come on, buddy. We can do this. At 965. There's over 1,000 people in here right now. Some of you haven't smashed that like button. We're at 965. Let's get this up. Let's donate some money to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. Need to get 1,000 likes. $972. We're getting there. Let's see. 974. I got 978. I think we're going to do it. Let's go. Let's go, baby. I got it all loaded and ready to go. 980, 982. Smash the like button. Let's get to 1,000 likes, and then I'm going to donate $100 to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, baby. And then we're going to wrap up shop and close up this live for tonight because it is getting late. 990. Scott says 990. We need 10 more. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Almost there. All right. Let me refresh. We're at 992. 992. Let's see. Rainey says, Maz, I gained 1,000% more respect for you because your alternate theory, both sides of the situation needs to be a little bit of practice in that. And by little, I mean a lot, self included. Thank you for the 10. Appreciate that. Are we at 1,000 yet? 998. Let's go. Do we hit 1,000? Let me refresh. We hit 1,000, baby. All right. I'm going to donate it right now. And I will show everybody on stream for transparency. Let me just get this loaded. Let's complete the dono. Thank you all. We got to 1,000. That's great. And we're donating money for a great cause. So let's put a tip in the bucket. Wait for this to come through. I'll show everybody, and then we're going to wrap it up. Ooh, the Defense Fund site is taking a long time tonight. Let me see if I got an email. Oh, there we go. All right. Let's just let everybody know. Right here, let me share the page, and then we're going to wrap it up. As you can all see right here, $100. LTL, 1,000 likes in the chat challenge. I love it. We've donated the money. And thank you. I appreciate that. We've donated a lot of money through this channel to help Karen Reed out fight this fucking Commonwealth. And I will continue to do it. I will continue to do it. I will continue to help fight the fight. And that's it. So thank you all so much for joining the live show tonight. I will be back most likely tomorrow night, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to go through the Jennifer McCabe testimony. There's going to be a lot more testimony happening tomorrow. Rumor is, and my inside sources tell me that it's going to be another 2 to 3 hours on Cross. So get your popcorn ready. And then I'm going to take Saturday off. I'll be back for Sunday Super Show at 3 p.m. And then the Monday night windup with Todd McGee and Nan Gallagher at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So everybody get some rest. I'll talk to you all soon. I love all of you. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for the super chats tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you for the memberships that came in tonight. Thank you, members, moderators, and of course, my awesome subscribers. Thank you for continuing to help grow this platform. Go out and check out my other videos. We have some really great videos that we've done over the last week if you haven't done that. And I'll talk to everybody soon. Have a good night. Peace. I'm out.